Welcome to episode 195 of In Touch with iOS, the show that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies. I'm your host, Dave Ginsburg. Warren Sklar's off this week, but Jeff Gamet is here as usual. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing great, and as always, it's great to get to hang out with you.
Absolutely, and it's even better that Chuck Joyner's here with us this week. How you doing, Chuck?
Well, I'm doing great. I appreciate that, David. I'm not sure it's true, but I appreciate the sentiment.
Oh, well, we're glad you're both here. We got some great stuff to talk about this week. iOS and all the other OSs 15.4 is out. We'll have quite a discussion about what some of the new features are. We're going to talk a little bit about universal control because that came out with macOS Monterey, but it does affect the use of iPad, so I thought it'd be a good topic. But let's just dive right in. We got lots of great news stories here, and we'll just jump right into the news here. First story. This is in 9 to 5 Mac. Apple streamlines the process of buying a new iPhone SE for AT&T and T-Mobile customers. With the launch of the third generation iPhone SE, Apple's made some changes to introduce streamlined purchasing process for AT&T and T-Mobile customers. Users will now be able to send their personal data to the carriers when they first turn on the device rather than having to wait for an approval when ordering an iPhone. So really that's what happened. I've had this experience firsthand. I'm sure you guys have as well, is when you walk into an Apple store, you get your phone and bring it there. Then they ask for your last for your social security number. And then they have to go through the long, painful process of waiting to get everything activated. And it looks like now they're going to be able to go around a lot of that and make it much more streamlined. And you don't spend 2 hours at the Apple store. You spend 30 minutes. Have you guys experienced this at all? Jeff?
The process, the previous process. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I have. The new process. Why wasn't it like this all along?
Exactly. Why wasn't it? Doesn't make any sense.
Well, you have to believe that Apple would like to have done it. And I hate to throw the self carriers under the bus.
I don't think you really do hate to throw them under the bus.
You're right. I really don't. No, you're right. I mean, I would bet. And to be fair, I get it. They want their pound of flesh. And as far as the payment goes, and I understand all that, but just more and more, in so many businesses, we're seeing people take friction out of the process, and it leads to better sales and happier customers. And I think this is a case of that. Somewhere somebody woke up and said, it should not take 2 hours to set up a phone.
Yeah,
right.
Oh, it shouldn't. I mean, I was doing it for a family member, and we ended up spending 2 hours there, and they couldn't even get the phone to work. And she ended up having to go and just order the phone and have it mailed to her. After all that time spent, they couldn't even activate the darn thing. And then he goes in the back and grabs another iPhone and starts to go through the whole process. And then it was the wrong color. Because he was out of the color that she wanted. So that was an unfortunate experience. And when you talk to family members, and as much as I defend Apple, but I couldn't defend that process. But it was painful. But it's good to see that Apple has really is doing a much better job in putting this in place. This is going to be on March 29th as we record this. Is a couple weeks here. So that's good news. Very good news. Anything else? Go ahead.
I hate to say it, but I'm going to say that if you're going to buy an iPhone, I really feel strongly about you buying it from Apple.
Oh,
not just because it's a profit situation, but you may have to wait for it to be delivered for a couple days. But you put all that information in. Every time I've done that, I get my phone. It's seamless. I give it my name, my number. And, it just works. And so, why go through that? Even if it's 30 minutes, why go through that hassle when you can go through a 10-minute process as part of the ordering? A 10-minute process as part of the overall ordering process.
Right.
And be done with it. So that's just the way I look at it.
I bought my current iPhone outright, and my setup process was pop the SIM card out of my old iPhone, put it in the new iPhone, and I didn't tell AT&T I had a new phone. And I turned it on and logged into my iCloud account, and that was the end of it.
Yeah.
And then I noticed a couple months later in AT&T system, it recognized what phone I had and displayed that as my current phone instead of the old one. So there was no setup. I didn't tell anyone. I just did it.
Yeah. What's step 3? There is no step 3.
There was
no step 3. Next story here. iPhone tops North America and Western European smartphone markets as 5G surpasses 4G. It's the new counterpoint data is out and shows that 5G smartphone sales surpassed 4G for the first time in January of 2022. Sales of 5G smartphones reached 51% in January. China, North America, and Western Europe were the driving forces for this increase. According to Counterpoint, the push for 5G came from Chinese telecom operators and the readiness of OEMs to supply competitively priced 5G phones to consumers. So 5G has penetrated over 73% in North America, 76% in Europe. So the numbers are looking really good with 5G here. And, as we've talked about this many times on here on the show, that I'm getting some good experience with 5G. Jeff, are you getting good experience with 5G in your area?
It's getting better all the time.
Yeah, it seems like it.
When I got my phone, there was like one block on Pearl Street Mall in Boulder where if I stood in the right place, I could marginally get a 5G signal.
Okay.
And over seriously, I'd say the last 8 months, it has changed dramatically. And 5G coverage is easy to find here now. And generally speaking, it's fast. So yeah, it's getting better.
Absolutely. How's your experience been with 5G, Chuck?
I was just looking to see because I haven't seen 5G show up in my phone. I haven't seen even the fake, AT&T's fake 5G. So apparently it has not been turned on here properly.
Okay. So I guess
don't worry, Chuck. They're going to get electricity to your area and running water very soon.
Thank you. I appreciate
right
that.
After that 5G.
They will.
Honestly, I'd forgotten about this. It still does yours still show up the 5G in the signal bar?
Mine does. Well, I'm on T-Mobile.
Yeah. What I was seeing prior to everything really taking off here, it said 5GE, which of course is not 5G.
Right.
And then it has switched over the past few months to consistently show 5G all around.
Yeah.
Nope. I guess. Yeah. I'll just wait for the running water and the
baby steps.
Baby steps, but
yeah, electricity would be nice.
It is selling like crazy. It's selling a lot of iPhones. That's for sure. Next story here: Apple begins selling refurbished iPhone 12s and 12 Pro models. This week, Apple is now selling the certified refurbished iPhone 12 and iPhone 12 Pro in the United States for the first time since it was released in late 2020. So you only have the 6.1-inch iPhone 12 and the iPhone 12 Pro models available for refurbished right now, with no 12 mini or 12 Pro Maxes to choose at this time. It's about a 15% discount across the board here for the iPhones, but I always find I've purchased stuff in the refurb store many times, and it's been a good experience. Good to see. Good to see that they're starting to sell. So get a bit of a discount. Don't you guys think?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Save a few bucks where you can.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and
absolutely.
The 12 is definitely going to be a good seller. That's a good phone. You can't really complain. This story, we actually talked about test flight a number of weeks ago, and Jeff was here. We talked about this, but this one's kind of scary now. Here, scammers have been using Apple's test flight to distribute malicious iOS apps. What a surprise here! Apple's test flight is a tool to created to help developers to distribute their beta apps and to users before they are released on the App Store to everyone. However, scammers have been using the platform to distribute malicious apps without Apple's knowledge. This was from a security report from the Sophos, an organized crime campaign called CryptoROM has been distributing fake cryptocurrency apps. What a surprise. iOS and Android users. So while it's easier to install apps outside the Google Play on the Android due to its side loading process, iOS users can only download and install apps from the App Store in theory. But unfortunately, scammers have realized that they can start messing around with the test flight. But I would think Apple is probably going to be smart and catch this sooner or later. What do you think, Jeff? We talked about this. We talked about those sites that had public links of test flight. It's almost like picking up a USB thumb drive on the ground and plugging it into your computer. I mean, don't you think?
It's a lot like that. The analogy that I have used for years is, think of it like practicing safe sex. and when and now Chuck's like, wait a second, Jeff's right. I never have picked up a USB drive in the parking lot thinking I could get lucky. Huh.
I'm just waiting for the rest of this, Jeff.
Yes.
All right. So generally speaking, people wouldn't randomly pick up someone that they find just sitting in a parking lot and engage in risky sexual activity with them. Why would you pick up a thumb drive and plug it into your computer that you've just found in a parking lot? Think of it the same way. You practice safe sex and you practice safe technology. Just treat them the same way. Yeah. And going to some shady place to hook up with someone that you don't know and you don't know their history, and they say, no, I'm fine, I'm clean. Okay, you can't trust that. And going to some shady place to find a piece of software where they say, no, don't worry, it's clean. You can't trust that either.
No, you can't. What do you think, Chuck?
I can't top that. I'm resisting the urge to try to follow it, and it's
pretty tough.
It won't work. The only part I would say is that I would hope that some of the legislators out here who are supporting some of this, frankly, stupid legislation, and I'm not going to call any names out, senator from Minnesota, but this just shows what happens when you don't have Apple's security in place. I mean, developers do dumb things. I'm sorry, developers, but sometimes developers do dumb things. Yeah. People do dumb things like Jeff just described. And, then you have a problem instead of going through the walled garden. So, would you please stop trying to tear down that wall for those of us that care about privacy and security and the safety of our photos and our bank accounts and everything else? Here's a case study right here in front of you, and look what's going on.
Absolutely. All right, let's move on here. The next story here, this was a Mac Rumors. There's some benchmark results. Of course, the Apple released the iPad Air with the M1 chip, and they're confirming that they did not downclock it, because everybody was concerned that did they downclock it compared to what the iPad Pro has. Well, apparently they didn't. It does have the same 3.2 gigahertz operating frequency as it does in the Pro. According to some Geekbench 5 results. And as such, the M1 iPad Pro has virtually identical performance to the M1 iPad Pro. And they go through some of the other data here, but that's interesting to see the fact that, okay, we were talking about this last week when they announced it. This is a bargain, buying this iPad Air for that, and just the offset of anything else that the Pro has. Is it worth it? Chuck, what do you think? Do you think this Air is going to be a good choice for many people?
I haven't done the comparisons. I mean, I think in the first place, the Air, the M1 Air, the M1 anything is a great choice for anyone who's not trying to slog through heavy duty photo or video, because it is so fast, it is so powerful. The question kind of becomes, what's it going to be wrapped in? How much screen real estate do you want or need? How many USB or Thunderbolt ports do you need? How much RAM do you need? And I mean, need, really, really use just to say, well, I want all the RAM I can get. Well, yeah, do you really need it? That to me is the defining thing, because the M1 chip, I mean, let's face it, we are all the slowest part of our computing systems at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What do you think, Jeff?
First, people need to stop trying to borrow trouble. People were freaking out about the processor being throttled with nothing to go on other than someone saying, do you think they did this? Do you think they would do this? And then it immediately became wailing and gnashing of teeth. People pissed off because this processor is throttled. And it turns out, no, it's not. So yeah, just wait for specs and then decide whether or not you need to get pissed off. And then as far as, is this the best iPad for everyone? Well, like Chuck said, it depends on your use case. But if someone were to come to me today and say, I want to get a new iPad and it's just going to be a general use device, what is the best bang for my buck? And I'd say, the new iPad Air.
Yeah.
Just get it.
Just get it. I think it's...
But now I'm also really curious to see what happens with the iPad Pro, because we're in that weird phase that we've hit with Apple products far too often, where we have a product that suddenly is on par with a Pro level device.
Yep.
In many ways. So that means we have a big leap coming for the iPad Pro. And I am really interested in seeing what that is. Yeah,
stay tuned. We're going to see where the Pro goes. That's definitely for sure. All right, last story here. This was kind of a feel-good story. I always like these stories about how the Apple Watch has actually saved somebody with the fall detection. How a gifted Apple Watch and fall detection led doctors to discover a mother's lung cancer. Apple Watch's health features once again have been credited to helping save a life and ultimately detect some much bigger health issue. Lady was in St. Petersburg, Florida, and detailed how the Apple Watch fall detection had helped her in a moment of need. She did fall and it did call 911, and just to kind of sum up the whole story here, and the built-in fall detection feature just did its job. And turns out she was barely breathing when the paramedics found her, and they brought her to the hospital. And sure enough, they found a mass in her lungs that was cancerous. Kind of scary. So wow. the Apple Watch did its job again. And then I continue to read these stories, and I think it just shows the value of what the Apple Watch does, don't you think, Jeff?
It does. A couple years ago, I was out skiing and took a bad fall. As I was walking into the lodge to get lunch, so I wasn't even skiing, but I hadn't taken my helmet off yet. I went down hard on my back, slipped on the ice, and my Apple Watch detected the fall, and I caught it right before it actually dialed 911. But it made me feel really good knowing that if I take a hard fall and I'm incapacitated, my Apple Watch is doing its job.
It is. Don't you think, Chuck?
Absolutely. I mean, at this point, I think if there's any way you can afford it, maybe not as what you think of as a luxury, but as a health device, and especially if you are heading into the senior years, or if you are responsible for caring for someone that's in the senior years, or that has some other medical condition that makes them prone to falling.
Right. This
is just such an incredibly easy investment to make. And it has all its fun little bells and whistles to go with it. But at the end of the day, if it only did this, it would be more than worth it.
I mean, my mother-in-law has one, and they swear by it, and got the fall detection on. So if anything were to happen, she's protected too. And by default, it's turned on if you're over the age of 65 based on the data that's in the health app. So, but if you're under that age, you do have to go in and turn it on. So it is a bad idea to turn it on regardless of what your age is. So
totally go and turn it on.
Turn it on, no matter what.
Because you never know when you're going to take that fall where you need to have 911 called and you're not capable of doing it.
Absolutely. All right, that was the news this week. I wanted to get into deep into some of the new releases that have come out this past week. So Apple did release iOS 15.4. It also released iPadOS 15.4. And you also have WatchOS 8.5, tvOS 15.4, and macOS Monterey 12.3 is out. But you also have universal control, which we're going to talk about here, as far as how the iPad can be used as a universal control device with your mouse and your keyboard. So let's start with iOS here first. Again, they just released this. So Jeff, you were just talking the first tip we were going to talk about as far as what the new features was the Face ID with mask. And before the show, you were talking about how you were having trouble getting it to work. It is a good thing, but we're so used to it opening with the Apple Watch. I really haven't even noticed it because I'm going to have my Apple Watch with me anyway, unless I turn off unlock with Apple Watch. Then I guess it would work. What was your experience so far with the face mask with Face ID?
I can't even get it to set up.
Okay.
Okay. So when I finished the update, part of the process was, hey, do you want to turn on unlock with face mask? And I said yes, and it's the same Face ID setup. Spin your face around and take your glasses off. And then when I went to actually try it yesterday, just to see if it was really working, it didn't. So I started troubleshooting and I checked my settings, and it turns out my iPhone doesn't think that I actually set up unlock with mask. So I went to set that up today, and my iPhone says, no. You have to use the face that's already registered with Face ID. And I'm the only person with the face registered on my phone. So I can't enable unlock with face mask. So good thing I have an Apple Watch.
Yeah, exactly. And Chuck, you said you have not tried that feature yet, right?
No, I mean, I installed and it took me through and said, roll your head and let's see your face. And, and I did, but I have not tried it with a mask on yet. So I mean, the Face ID works fine for me, but that's without the mask. So I don't know if it will or not.
Yeah. Couple more of the other features they've added. In FaceTime, SharePlay sessions can now be initiated directly from supported apps. That's great to hear. So you'll be able to do a SharePlay with any supported app now in FaceTime to share your videos and such. Siri now can provide time and date information while offline, with starting from the 10S model all the way up, and 11 and later, of course, or newer. And then Siri also has an additional voice, which I'm actually using, and I actually like it. It's voice number 5 in the American voice, and I actually like it. It threw me off today when I was texting somebody back from CarPlay, and then I'm hearing the voice, like, oh, wait, that's a new voice. I make sure I changed it because you're so used to the other voice. Have you guys tried the new voice at all? Or are you still sticking with what you got?
I like the new voice, but I got really used to the alternate American female sounding voice.
Okay.
And so I'm sticking with that. But the new voice number 5, I like it. I think it's going to be a lot easier for a lot of people to understand what Siri's saying.
Yeah.
It sounds just generally clearer to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm with you, Jeff. That's my test. I mean, it's fun to play with all the accents and everything, but at the end of the day, I want to be able to understand it. And maybe I'm the one that's been trained by my S lady, and the voice that I've chosen, that I really don't want to change it and, do a, what did you say? I'm good where I am, but plenty of people love to play with these things. And, you can also set different voices for different devices. So that was suggested somewhere, and I may play with that or something, one of the devices that I don't frequently use the S lady with. So we'll see. But that was not an earth shaker for me. It was just, one more nice option to have. Yeah,
absolutely. So then there are some enhancements. I'm not going to go through the long list here of enhancements. Some I'll just pick out here that are pretty important here. I like the iCloud. For those of you who use the iCloud custom email domains, now they finally can be managed from the settings, because you had to go to the iCloud.com website to actually make and change the settings. Finally, you can actually do it from iOS and make the changes and manage those settings, which is great.
Good.
News offers enhanced discovery of audio content in the Today feed and audio tab, which is cool. The camera and keyboard can be used to add text to notes and reminders. Okay, that's awesome. Shortcuts are now supporting adding, removing, and querying tags with reminders. that's not a bad thing. Emergency SOS settings have changed to use call with hold for all users. Call with 5 presets is still available as an option in the emergency SOS settings. So a couple of these different things. I do like the close-up, the magnifier is using now the ultra-wide camera on iPhone 13 Pro and Pro Max to help you see small objects. I tried that. Wow, it is really cool. So, and there's a number of other bug fixes and such that were out. So, but it's good to see that they're moving along here with some of the great things that they needed to fix and to enhance. So, but that was good stuff here. And we did I did put a link in the show notes for how Face ID works with wearing a mask. So be sure to take a look at that. As far as that goes, and iPad, there wasn't, very similar enhancements, not a whole lot that was added, but it does have some improvements, and I've noticed some performance improvements as well. We'll move on to the HomePod real quick, and the HomePod, they did release 15.4, and this is the fourth major update to the software. I don't think there's a huge amount of different changes. One thing they did add was the support for captive Wi-Fi networks, so the users can connect to a HomePod on a network that needs additional steps to sign in. And Apple has added a new Siri voice, of course, so they kind of added that along as well. Jeff, you got your HomePods updated, and have you seen anything out of the ordinary? I really haven't. What I did.
Updated my HomePod, both my HomePod minis, and the only difference that I have is that today is a new day.
Yeah.
They're still just as flaky as they were before.
Yeah. And did you get yours updated, Chuck? Anything that you found?
Yeah, and unlike Jeff, I have to say my HomePods are not flaky. They do pretty much what I ask them to, and I'm very happy about that. So. Yeah. I don't know if it's Jeff or not.
We got to wonder that sometimes.
It has to be me.
Yeah.
So, not much else to say much about HomePod. Let's go ahead and move on to the Apple Watch. WatchOS 8.5 was released with support for Apple TV purchase authorization. So I'll hit that on Apple TV in a minute here. Irregular heart rhythm notification improvements and more. This is a big thing. You're able to authorize Apple TV purchases and subscriptions right from your Apple Watch. And the updates to the irregular heart rhythm notifications was improving arterial fibrillation, the AFib identification. They've done some updates there. And then they have audio hints in Fitness Plus to provide with audio commentary for the visually demonstrated moves during workouts. So it's on your watch. So that's a cool thing too as well. So some enhancements here, a couple fixes here. They also fixed as well. WatchOS, they fixed a mail privacy protection loophole that could expose IP addresses. There was a security vulnerability in the Mail app that could leak IP addresses when downloading remote content that security researchers have found. And they go through a lot of the stuff with the IP address and vulnerability. But honestly, I don't check email on my watch. Do you guys use your watch to check email? I mean, very rarely do I.
No, I get VIP notifications.
Yeah,
and then I go look at my phone.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure you're the same way, Chuck. You don't check your email.
I don't even get VIP notifications on my watch. I mean, usually I notice those enough on my phone, and I don't need that coming. That's at some point I hit overload on what is really important, and it's like, okay, there's some things that if it's really urgent, I'm probably going to get a phone call. I know that sounds archaic, but I will get a phone call if it's really honest to God urgent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So other than that, not much else. But this actually stood out to be an interesting thing that Apple did add. iOS 15.4 and watchOS 8.5 allow you to restore an Apple Watch using an iPhone. And Apple did publish a support article indicating that iOS 15.4 and watchOS 8.5 allows it to be restored with a nearby iPhone. The support document states that if the Apple Watch is running 8.5 or later, displays an animation showing the an Apple Watch and iPhone being brought close together, similar to when your AirPods come and others, and it's saying recover Apple Watch, and you go through the steps, put the Apple Watch in its charger, and you double click the side button, and you follow the steps. I think this is great because it was always a pain to have to restore your Apple Watch, having to go through the Watch app, and then they've actually included this. I haven't tried it yet. What do you think, Jeff?
Why hasn't this been there all along?
Exactly. So there's a new feature, a new way to recover your Apple Watch. Chuck, you think this is a good thing?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm like Jeff. It's sort of why hasn't this been there all along? Although I have to say, I've never had. I realize I'm jinxing myself right now, but I've never had to recover my Apple Watch. It's never given. None of the Apple Watches I've ever had have given me any trouble like that. So
yeah,
it's hard for me to get excited about a feature that I would never have even needed up to now.
I don't know if it's necessarily a feature, more so just another safety measure of recovery, compared to having to go through the whole steps. I mean, I've had to actually restore my watch a number of times. I'm sure we all have. Especially, I had a problem with the Apple Wallet on the iPad, the Apple Watch. I would go to a terminal, it would say invalid, so I had to restore the watch.
Yep.
But yeah, so that's definitely interesting. And then tvOS, they did the biggest thing that they released in the tvOS 15.4. We generally don't see too much as far as any new features with tvOS is the captive Wi-Fi networks, which means if your iPhone or iPad can be used to connect the Apple TV to its network, and that requires additional sign-in steps, such as like hotel rooms. So that they're promoting you even more, bringing your Apple TV with you when you travel, which a lot of people do because they want to be able to watch their stuff and use the hotel Wi-Fi to do it. So that was also a good thing. And again, we talked about the Apple Watch, you can complete a purchase on there as well. And then they added the ability to display HomeKit cameras in picture-in-picture mode while watching TV. I have not. I don't know if you. I know you have some HomeKit stuff set up at your house, Jeff. I doubt you. I don't mean you doubt. I don't know if you have cameras as far as the HomeKit, right?
I have a couple HomeKit cameras. I just haven't had a chance to mess around with the new picture-in-picture thing.
Gotcha.
But the thing is, what I'll end up seeing is what's in the hallway behind me because of where my cameras are. But still, I am going to play with it because it's a thing and I want to know how it works.
Yeah. Do you have HomeKit? Any cameras set up, Chuck?
I do not have any HomeKit cameras. I have a couple Eufys and some Ways. But I'm kind of waiting for something to die so I can justify moving over to HomeKit. Your
Eufy cameras, unless they're like really old, they support HomeKit.
Do they?
I believe so. Yeah.
Oh,
I have the camera that's in the hall that I'm going to test with is a Eufy camera.
Oh, okay. Well, then I have them. I didn't even know they were HomeKit. Great. Now that's one more thing on my things to do list, guys. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Gotta go play with that.
My first camera, I've had Waze cameras and all the other ones inside the house, but I did get a Google Nest doorbell with the camera. It was a battery operated doorbell, but I kind of had a failure of my doorbell system. The chime and the transformer had gone out because the button was stuck. So I had them install this. And it is I'm really kind of enjoying the fact that whenever somebody walks up to my door, like the mail carrier or someone delivering a package, it notifies you through the notifications. Hey, someone's at your door. And then you can push your button and say, hey, leave it at the door. Or watch my cleaning ladies coming in the house, and I could see when they leave and when they come in and when they leave. So
and they don't even know that they're under surveillance.
Yeah, well, yeah, because you watch them, and they have no clue what they don't even think about it. So, yeah, that's great to see with the tvOS. that's a lot of the stuff that's this time around for updates. So we'll keep looking through this, and as we go in other episodes, we'll definitely find some other stuff. One thing I'll note is this is unusual. We've gone until Thursday as we record this, and all these were released on Monday. There's still not. You go to the developer site, beta software downloads. There are currently no beta softwares available for download. And I think someone we know is
kind of surprising.
Very much so. And I think someone we know is going to be in withdrawal. Warren. So it's definitely going to be interesting. So, and I wanted to just shift gears here, and I don't normally talk too much about Mac here on this show, but I thought this would be a great topic to talk about because I'm super excited. I assume that both of you are as well with universal control. Apple did add universal control to macOS Monterey 12.3, which is going to allow you to use a keyboard and a mouse across multiple devices. Oh my gosh, I've been playing with this since Monday and started using it. And I'm going to have in the show notes, I have a screenshot of the displays I've got set up. You guys can see that in our notes now. So I've got 4 displays set up here.
God, you do.
It's so freaking awesome here. So you got my 32-inch external display for my Mac. I got my MacBook Pro's built-in screen. I've got my iPad Pro 11-inch, and I have my Mac Mini connected as well into universal control. Not only can you control your iPads, you can control your other Macs too. So I've got 2 screens next to each other here. It's always a pain. I might seriously consider getting rid of these other keyboards. I got just one set of keyboards now, and I can move over to the other Mac and be able to use the keyboard, use the touchpad, and go and be on my way here. I did start trying to play with it a little bit. I have 2 iPads sitting here next to me right now. I have my 12.9-inch iPad, the first gen, which still works amazingly, which is great, and my 11-inch. And you can only have four displays at once. So if you try to put 2 iPads, you could do 2 iPads actually if you wanted to, if you're that crazy.
You could do your Mac and 3 iPads.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's what I could do. I might have to close my lid, but it's seamless. It seems to work really well. And Chuck, have you had a chance at all yet to play with the universal control?
No, I'm following that rule of if you're in the middle of a major project, you don't update your Macs, and so I confess I'm just a little behind. Although I'm hoping this weekend I can say, okay, if anything would go wrong, I will have time to work on it. But yeah, I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued by this. Because I love having multiple monitors on my Mac, and of course, by the very nature of them being direct connected, I'm using one keyboard and one mouse. But to be able to add, an iPad to that mix is very, very appealing. No question about it. Because I love screen real estate. Yeah.
And the other cool thing too is that you can use Sidecar and universal control at the same time. So if you want to use the iPad as the second display, that's what Sidecar did. You can also use it with simultaneously with a universal control, which I thought was extremely interesting to see how you're able to do that. Because if you go into the drop-down menu, it does show add display, and it's listing link keyboard and mouse to whatever device it sees. But then below that, it says mirror or extend to, and then shows all your iPads. And in an example in the show notes here is showing that someone has a iPad Mini and an iPad Pro. So you might want to use one of those as a sidecar to view that. So this is quite an interesting thing Apple has done with this, and a lot of with folks who have KVM switches and I've got the MX Master mouse from Logitech, but it requires, of course, the software in order for you to be able to move the mouse over. And it's never, and when you're depending on software, I guess we are depending on software because it's a built-in OS feature as opposed to it being actual software that has to run.
This is such a cool feature.
Yeah, so I'm continue to look forward to utilizing it, especially on the iPad. It's very seamless. When I was moving the mouse around, it works really well. You go to the browser, the keyboard works great. And those of you who don't have a Magic Keyboard or any other type of keyboard for your iPad, this is great a great thing. And I know, Jeff, you have your arm that you have your iPad on, so that even comes more into play for you.
Yep.
With that, and it's it's quite a thing. I'm kind of speechless. It's just how Apple really came up with this new feature.
It's amazing for me how quickly this is becoming an indispensable feature for me.
Absolutely.
And, because even at my desk with my 34-inch display, I have an iPad sitting right over here. And there are certain things that are happening just on the iPad. Mm-hmm. And it's no longer a matter of me stopping and thinking about what device am I using. It's just zip the mouse pointer over to the screen that it needs to be on, and everything is working. And it's instant.
It is.
I'm delighted to hear both of you having such positive experiences, because it makes me, this is one of those things like, yeah, that'll be cool if it works. And it sounds like it's working for both of you exactly as advertised. And so now I'm anxious to, start to play with it a little bit and figure out just how many more screens I can put, at my command.
You can put more in. I believe in you, Chuck.
Well, I mean, the big thing is just having multiple Macs. If you use multiple Macs, and I think we all do here, being able to go between the two and include the iPad in it is just so cool. I just can't believe it.
It's amazing.
Got one tip here I wanted to talk about. I had one app here for this week, and one of the tips here was how to silence iMessage notifications on all of your devices. This was an article here in iDownload blog here. I thought this is interesting to know how to silence your chats here. You can go into the Messages app on the iPhone or the iPad, and then from there, there's 3 ways to do it. You can press in the chat and tap Hide Alerts. You could swipe left on the chat and tap the purple bell icon, then you'll see a tiny gray bell icon after that, muting the chat. That isn't visible on pinned chats, so if you do that, it sometimes it's helpful because there are some times that you don't want to get notified. If you want it to be muted. Sometimes, especially if you're if you're getting text back and forth, I'm sure we've all experienced that. It's like, I don't want to deal with this right now. I'm not going to mute this. So it's very easy to do. You can do the same thing on the Apple Watch. You can hide your iMessage alerts, and the same thing applies on the Apple Watch. You just press the digital crown in that case, go to and see all apps and tap Messages, and you swipe left on the message and say it'll give you the option to mute it. And then on the Mac, you can do it as well through the Messages app. And it drives me crazy sometimes, especially the Mac. I kind of leave the Messages muted on the Mac because most of the time I'm doing it on the iPhone anyway. I don't know about you guys, but at least it's there and it syncs and I can respond to somebody in the Messages app from the Mac. But I'd rather it be muted. I think I have that turned off, and it doesn't even notify me. Jeff, have you utilized this feature, these features at all, turning it off and muting it?
Oh, yes. There's some group chats that I'm in where I don't need to know that stuff is happening in the chat. I just need to hop in every now and then and get caught up. And I don't need to have notifications for, like 300 messages or whatever it is. So, yes, this is a super handy feature, and most of my ongoing chat threads are muted. Just there's specific ones that aren't, and I don't need to know about every time a message comes in from all the others.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was saying about information overload before, and it's the same thing. I have a couple people that I will regularly accept notifications from, but for the most part, I have all the messages muted because, again, if it's really honest to God urgent, somebody is going to dial a phone.
Right.
That's just. Again, maybe I'm just a little bit too much old school, but that's sort of my top priority is answer the phone, especially if I see it's from Jeff or from David or from a member of my family. Then okay, that's going to get my top attention.
Right.
If it's a text from Jeff or David, that's important. But I don't think it's important that I know right now. If it is, they'll call me. So.
What the hell?
Yeah. What's up with that?
You should have us set as VIPs. Now, anytime you get any message from either of us, it alerts you every possible place you can imagine.
Hey, well, but the trouble is I know you two, and you'll text me at 3 a.m. just to see if it works, since I don't trust you.
Well, I mean, there is that.
Yeah. I know who I'm dealing with here.
Yeah. One other tip too is you can also go in and turn off all notifications if you wanted to. There might be a time you need to go and to not see the notifications right away. To do that, you go into the you go into settings and then tap notifications, and then go to messages, and then you can turn off where it says allow notifications. You'll still get your text messages, you just won't get notified, and then you'll see your red number that you've got a bunch of messages, and then you can just go grab them. You know what? I do that on my work email on my iPhone. In Outlook, we have to use Outlook, of course, for me anyway. I turn it off so it doesn't even notify me, and I think about it. Oh, I guess I gotta check at work email, and I can go and then just be surprised instead of me getting a notification. It seems to have worked for me. So, but it does give that, and you have the option to do that on the Apple Watch as well as on the Mac if you wanted to the notifications completely turned off. And that's all in this article as well. So, one last thing, I had this interesting app I found this week. It's called Posture Pal. And what it does is it actually it helps you improve your posture. And I think a lot of us kind of slouch. I'm doing it right now. Unfortunately, I shouldn't be. And need to improve your neck and shoulder posture. There's an iPhone app that actually uses your AirPods to help you improve that. It's an interesting idea that helps you during your long work hours while you're playing a video game, or even while watching a movie, or even without destroying your back here. And what he did was that he came up with this app, and it's really cool. I haven't had a lot of chance yet to try it, but it does work with all the AirPods, including the AirPods Max and the Beats Fit Pro, and you can also use other headphones, I guess, if it does have the motion on the iPhone as well. So it's pretty cool. I want to try it out. I haven't had much try it out, but I wanted to share this with everybody so they could see this app, and put a screenshot of the actual extras you can get. It's only $1.99, worth $2 to support the app developer, and with the Posture Pal Pro, unlimited posture sessions, custom sensitivity, extra icons. $2. What the heck? Support this. Support this developer. So I thought it was a cool app. Check that out.
Yeah, definitely. It's probably something we can all use. We're all spending too much time at our desks.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't have that struggle. So with that was all the content I had for this week. A little shorter show this week, but that's okay. We was glad that you were able to make it, and let's go ahead and wrap things up for this week. That's a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Twitter @intouchwithios. Support the show by buying me a coffee at intouchwithios.com/coffee. We'd really appreciate it. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe so you are notified when we are live streaming, like we are now on our YouTube channel, which is at youtube.com/DaveG65. You can also go watch and listen to past shows. Visit In Touch with iOS magazine on Flipboard, where many of the topics we discuss are flipped onto that list, and that link is in our show notes. You can subscribe to our show and your favorite podcatcher, including Apple Podcasts and many others, but better yet, go to our website, intouchwithios.com, where all the ways to listen to us are there. I am Dave Ginsburg, and you can find me on Twitter @DaveG65. Jeff, thank you for being here as always. Where can people find you?
Well, thanks for having me back. As always, it's just so much fun. So this is just great. Okay, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram. I am Gamet on both. YouTube.com/JGamet for my videos. Most Tuesdays on macOS is live. Thursdays earlier in the day on the big show, and then and then now most Thursday evenings with you here.
Yes.
And then Friday mornings on the Mac Show. And Brian Chapman and I have teamed up again. And we have brought Apple Context Machine back to life, or under our direct control. And so it is now the Context Machine. And we're having a lot of fun with that.
It's a great show. Thanks for being here. Chuck, where can everybody find you?
MacVoices.com is where you can find everything I'm doing. We do Mac Voices live Tuesday nights at 7 p.m.
I know, time changes.
Time changes. Throwing us off.
At
Daylight
8
saving.
p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific at youtube.com/MacVoicesTV. David, thank you for having us. It's always fun.
Yeah, it was great. And thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll talk again soon.